failure to communicate. Some people you just can't reach.
With all the information at our fingertips, how can we, the people, become more knowledgeable and then accountable? We must step out of the information age and into the accountability age. Welcome to the great internet debates, hot topic, hot potato, roundtable discussion. I'm your host, JB Cohen, aka the Jaster. We are live, and it is March 31st, 2021. It is the happy March endings, if you will, March Madness endings meets, what is it? April Foolishness. It's a hard word to say. Okay, so welcome to the call, everybody. Today we're kicking off April Fool's Month is coming up, and we like to add a little fun and humor and satire to the news and everything. And we're going to be honoring or talking to Anthony and also to Stevie P over here on the call. Stevie P has Foolish Times in Monterey and Santa Cruz, and also on the World Wide Web. And then also, thank you, unmute your mics. And then also Anthony Torino is coming out of Parts Unknown. If he wants to disclose that, it's up to him. No. And he's a comedian, and he's a funny guy, and he's been helping me out with the show for a period of time. And cool cat, and he tours wherever he can, and he runs a couple places in where he's at, right? I don't remember. We'll talk about that later. And he's also, we'll explain more about Anthony. And then right now, we're going to get into what's happening right now. So, everybody, grab your notepads so you can take notes. Grab your hot your mitts, your oven mitts, because the hot potatoes are going to be hot. And the question to start off with is that we're going to go around is, who was in the Final Four? And why does it matter? No, I'm just kidding. And also, what do you know about them being in the NCAA being in the Supreme Court? All right. So, do you guys know anything about the NCAA and what's going on in the Supreme Court?
I don't think so. What is it specifically?
So they were in Supreme Court today about the whole thing about the them not getting paid money versus the amount of money that they're allowed to get, what they're being offered in trade to play and all that. And there's more to it than that. But yeah, so that's up on the table there. It's the NCAA rules, they're capping compensation for certain student athletes who violate federal antitrust laws. Players are currently allowed tuition and a small stipend. Two lower courts have already ruled that the NCAA must remove limits on non-cash educational benefits. Experts say such benefits could range from computers to study abroad, opportunities and internships and more. But there's that. And then, of course, who's playing. But I think that, there's a lot of money going around. And what about, having a graduation type money after graduating?
Somebody's making a lot of noise.
Huh?
Somebody's making a lot of noise. I think everybody should mute unless you're being talked to.
Yeah, somebody's making a lot of noise with the chair and stuff. Okay, so let's move around. Anthony, you got anything to say about that?
If we're a capitalist society and these kids are bringing all this money to the university, it definitely would seem that they should be paid. They're getting an education, but what is that, $30,000, $40,000 a year in tuition according to where they're going. And other than that, they can't get paid. Also, I think part of this lawsuit that you were talking about was, can they use their likeness? Can they actually go out and advertise things? right now, at this point, they can't. A superstar college athlete cannot get a contract to sell tennis shoes or headbands or Gatorade, which seems totally unfair because any other student attending that college could do that. So I definitely think if they're bringing in a ton of money, they should get paid, and most definitely they should be able to use their likeness and their popularity to sell other things.
Very good. Harley, you have anything to say about that?
No, I mean, he pretty much nailed that. I agree. I mean, if we're under a capitalist system, then why not?
Right on. Stevie P?
Well, I thought Northwestern a couple of years ago, the football team won something in Illinois as far as getting paid. I don't know why that didn't come up. But as far as the revenue, football and basketball bring in tons of revenue for these big colleges. And they take that money and they disperse it across the board to other sports that aren't revenue driven. Water polo, track, other sports, women's sports. So I think at the end of the day, if they do some financial accountability and if there is anything left over after all these other sports are funded, maybe they should find a way to compensate the athletes. But again, that money is also used to fund other non-revenue sports. And these guys get to showcase their skills to go out and later play in the NBA in Europe or wherever to make a good living. And most of them don't even graduate. So if that's the case, then there should be a rule that you could use your likeness, you could get paid if you graduate, because you have the opportunity to get a free education. Why not get educated?
That's right. Pete Munoz, you got anything to say about all that going on?
Yeah, I think you should be able to make some money. I don't know if you should be able to make a lot of money, because what happens when you give people that are under the age of 21 a lot of money? They burn it, they waste it, they lose focus of what they were there to do in the first place, Pretty soon, you're going to be asking to pay high school kids, and then middle school kids, and then it's going to be elementary kids. I think not paying an athlete, like a college athlete, I don't think people realize how valuable a free education is. If somebody said to me, hey, do stand-up comedy for 4 years and we'll give you a free education, but we're not going to pay you to do your stand-up, I'd sign up right away. If I was smart enough, I would know what to do with that education, I'm not against keeping athletes broke, but we all know that these athletes aren't suffering at these big schools. I'll tell you that right now, they're not suffering. But I'm against paying them a lot, but I do think they should be able to keep jersey sales, because there's a lot of players like the Christian Laettner jersey that I would want from college, not from the pros. I'll tell you that right now. I would not want his pro jersey. So I think the athletes should get some, but I think not spoiling them and giving them millions of dollars NBA money, keeps them humble and keeps them focused on being the best athlete that they can be and just helping their future out,
I like that. Yeah, I agree with that a lot what you just said. So, Casey, why don't you come on the line so we can hear from you too? But what about you, Andrew or Vaughn?
Okay, I'm here. Okay, I got something to say about this. Yeah, everybody's lost their mind. These guys are fucking, pardon my friends, these guys, somebody's making billions off of this crap. I don't give a crap whether they're students, who they are. These guys are doing something that is providing these companies billions of dollars in revenue. Billions, okay? So I'm not about keeping them broke at all. If these guys are the ones doing it, look, should we not pay Justin Bieber because he was 13 or 14 because he was young? No, you got talent, you get paid for it, period. It's slave labor, okay? And these guys, like, I understand what you're saying as far as they're getting a free education. Are they really getting a free education? They're working for it. They're not getting a free education. They're working for it. If they're playing basketball, they went for a scholarship, that ain't getting a free education. They're paying for that stuff, right? And if most of them don't graduate, then basically what they're doing is they're using these guys. They know damn well that most of them don't graduate in the first place. You got some companies making billions of dollars. They don't get an education in the end because, like you said, most of them don't even graduate. So they're actually not getting paid to get an education, or they're not getting anything out of it. They're literally just, I mean, and somebody else is, and I don't care how they do it. I don't care if one of these guys can make $1 million. If somebody's making $1 billion off of them, they are bringing it. Without them, their money doesn't exist, right? Like it doesn't exist. So you ain't doing nothing bad by paying these people who are providing the service that makes the money for these companies and for the schools. I mean, gosh, these schools wouldn't even be where they are without those athletes then, right? So you couldn't get the free education if the school wasn't there, because who's paying for the school? Well, it sounds like the athletes are, right? So that's my thoughts on it. But I mean, I think it's insane that they can't make money. They shouldn't be allowed to make money. There should be zero rules on that. I don't think that there's no reason to keep them broken. You know what? You know the three things can literally change a person's mind, right? And so it's like trauma. One is like, long story short, one of those things is making mistakes, experiences. So if you spend a ton of money because you blow through it because you didn't know, well, guess what? They're better off down the road. People are going to make mistakes for things. So that's theirs to make. I don't, whether whether people agree with it or not, if they blow their money, so what? You learn lessons from it and there's consequences. So anyways, that's my thought on it.
Right on. Well, thank you very much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Very much for sharing. Marvin, you have anything to say?
The only thing I have to say is that the reason that they got into that college is because they were playing sports. And the college offered them a free tuition for 4 years because they were playing sports. And they should be happy with that. Now, someone said if a private company wants to pay them to advertise sneakers or something, then that's fine. But I don't think the school should give them any extra money, maybe pay for their books or whatever, but not give them any, maybe some spending money, $1,000 a month or something is okay, but not to pay them like a professional ball player. That's my take. Let them, they're there to get educated. Let them get educated.
Very good. Well, let's see. I'm hoping that we can maybe come up with this.
Well,
Go ahead, Stevie P.
Carmelo Anthony has a camp. He does. And what he's doing is him and a group of people are recruiting high school and junior college basketball players. And they're saying, I'll give you $100,000 a year and we will train you to possibly get into the NBA or possibly do this, possibly do that. And they're putting in these kids' minds that, again, you don't have to go to college, you don't have to study, you don't got to pretend to be a student because they're not student athletes. And again, are we filling up these kids' minds that they're going to play? There's an expectation then, if you start throwing money at them, that they're going to be in the pro ranks? Because if you look at what they've done with baseball down in the Caribbean and Central America with these kids, there's camps down there. They fill their heads with junk and they abuse these kids. So at least we have some kind of controls here at the college level and the high school level that they're really not abused. They're well fed, they're taken care of, and they're given opportunities, and they're gifted athletes. And if it wasn't for that athletic ability, they would not have the chance to even showcase their talent on TV on Saturday or Friday night that we could see. So again, there's a lot of rules here. These guys are protected, and I don't think the barn door should not open to where these guys can, the abuse and then the gambling, and it'll just get totally out of hand. And it's heading that way anyway. So
then nobody should be able to make money then. The school shouldn't be able to make money then either, because that's not what they're using them. They're using them. They wouldn't give them that education if they were athletes.
They're using the money and funding other things. And yes.
Yeah, but then what about the networks? But ESPN, all these companies, Sports News, everybody's making billions off of them.
Absolutely. Then you know what? Then as a consumer, we stop watching. There you go.
That's what I'm saying. But we're not. But I'm saying we're all willing to use them. We're all willing to use them, right? But we don't want to get paid. Fuck it. We want to watch them. We want to see them do all this stuff, but we don't want them to get paid. Like, to me, I see a problem with that. I think that's messed up.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here because I think Stevie's making it. Here's one
thing. He's got a good point.
Yeah, Stevie's making a lot of good points. My biggest concern is I don't know what kind of shit Stevie's going to say tonight that he needs to be wearing a safety vest during the show. But
I'm ready for you, man. I'm ready for you.
but what
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
yeah. So a couple of things I wanted to say for sure is that we have to establish is college and high school, because Stevie made a good point. Some of these high schools in Texas make millions of dollars, millions off their high school football. So is a school there for everyone to benefit? So if the school is if the football team is bringing in millions, and of course the women's volleyball and basketball is losing money, are we there to provide services for everyone? Is that the purpose? Because if it is, then maybe we can't pay some of these athletes, because the other sports that are losing money are not making money. We have to push the money there. So that's one point I think is definitely right. What a lot of people don't know, my first wife was one of the smartest people in America. She was an engineering student. She ended up with 2 PhDs. They paid her scholarships, books, and they paid her to attend college. She made $3,000 or $4,000 a month in the 80s. So it's not just college athletes that get paid. The best engineering students, they get paid. The best architecture students, they get paid. So if we're going to pay them, we should definitely pay athletes. Now, the question is, why not get an education when you're there? Most of these people don't graduate. Fact is, most people that start college don't graduate. We always want to jump on the athlete that doesn't graduate, but I think it's about 65% of people that start college don't graduate. So it's the general population there anyway. And I think Charles Barkley said it best is, why the fuck would I want to graduate when I can make enough money in the NBA to buy the college when I'm done? Which is a fantastic point. Let me see if I covered all my things. So yes, it's a hard one to call. I think as long as we're calling it an educational institution, then the money should go to all of the sports for both sexes or 50 genders or whatever we have, but everyone should get equal access. Everyone should get to play, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. If there's money left over, maybe we pay people. But I agree with what Vaughn is saying. It is so unfair when you think that Ohio State football or University of Alabama is bringing in a shitload of money, and those players are getting $35,000 a year in tuition and books. That's ridiculous. But now I don't know if y'all noticed it, this year or last year, LaMelo Ball, instead of attending college, he went overseas and got paid to play and then got drafted in the NFL. He said, fuck the entire college system, which I think is a wonderful option. If you're not going to go and you don't care about getting an education, because isn't the point of getting an education in college, you get a good paying job? Isn't that really the point? So right. Bill Gates didn't graduate. He dropped out. Okay. So let's not get on these guys just because they're athletes or maybe because they're black or whatever. That's a hard solution. That's my time. Sorry, guys.
No, yeah, I like that. Sorry, I think that's good. What you're saying is right. I mean, if these guys were really smart, they could literally start their own league, a pre-league, basically before. I mean, because there should be then since college is such a joke, because it truly is actually. They could start a whole nother league that's not college involved with college at all. And my thing is not so much that I don't think the school should pay them. I think what I'm saying is anybody that's making money off them that's not part of the school, it should be going to that school. If they're selling jerseys, they're selling their shit, whatever that is, that should all go to those athletes. So they should be getting paid a percentage of that.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody should get a graduation, some kind of gift from the college for participating in the programs and, all that, and showing up for work, because it's kind of a job for them, isn't it? It's kind of a job.
It is.
So it could be treated like a bonus for the graduates, for the alumni or whatever. All right, so I don't know if Pete's still available, but let's go ahead and go around. Let me see who we got here. So Anthony. I'm sorry, Harley. You got something to say? Yeah. Okay. So let's start with you, Harley.
I think y'all wrapped a nice little bow on it.
You got one? Is there a solution? Anybody got solutions for that last round? Because You know, it sounds like everybody's in consensus that they should. Show of hands. Would you like them to get paid some money at the end of the deal?
Yep.
At the end of the service.
Yep.
Okay.
But you know,
graduate and all that. Yeah. All right. So,
well, I think actually, you know, there's another thing they could do. I mean, if they get drafted, I would say, you know, maybe like if they don't get a bonus because they're going to get, that's their bonus. But if they get a bonus if they don't get drafted into a school because they provided a lot for that school. Right.
Yeah. They might not all go on and do that. So,
right.
Okay. So here's it. So let's call it. So everybody on the call gets a chance to call the future. So on the court, number 1, Gonzaga, and number 11, UCLA will also join number 1, Baylor, and number 2, Houston in the men's NCAA double Final Four. So who do you guys call to win the whole deal by next week? Andrew, Anthony, or Vaughn, or whatever. Vaughn.
So now oddly, I don't watch sports. I'm not a sports guy. So I couldn't tell you, but what are my options?
Gonzaga, Houston, UCLA, and Baylor.
Okay.
I'm going to go with UCLA.
Okay, so I do watch sports, and here's what's amazing about this year's Final Four. UCLA had to play to get in the tournament, and now they're in the Final Four. So that is ridiculous. They're an 11 seed, so they do not belong there, and they actually had to have an extra round. I think they started this year or last year. Before the tournament starts, UCLA had to work their way into the tournament, and now they've gone all the way to Final Four. Unbelievable. But the big story is Gonzaga is undefeated. And no team since, I believe, 76 was Indiana, was the last team to go undefeated and win the national championship. So, and Gonzaga is actually a small school. So I would love to see in the end UCLA face Gonzaga, and it's the two Cinderella people, you know, the undefeated against the person that should have never been there, and let's see what happens. That would be great.
I feel like, I'll throw this in real quick. Sometimes I feel like if it's been so long, if nobody's ever lost, like those percentages, well, then that means somebody's bound to lose.
Right.
Right? So I would say this would probably be that time.
Yep.
So who you calling, Andrew or Vaughn? What do you want to go by? Vaughn?
I said UCLA. I'm going UCLA. That's my deal.
UCLA.
Yep.
All right. And then you said, Anthony, you said Gonzaga?
I'm going to pick Gonzaga because they're undefeated, yeah.
Yep. Same reason I'm picking UCLA.
All right. Okay, who do we got here? Pete, you got a call for the Final Four here?
If you don't know, you should go with Gonzaga. Look at how much they destroyed yesterday by UCLA won. It took UCLA the whole game to score 51 points. Come on, get out of here. You don't even have a great game. Sports. You don't have to watch sports to know. Come on, man. They took the whole game. Gonzaga won that game in the second quarter yesterday. Their legs are fresh. UCLA is going to be tired. I don't care if you're 19, 21 years old. You're going to be tired. Because they probably went out and celebrated, you know. But Gonzaga, I love where they're at. They can focus on basketball. They're you know, it's a family type environment out there, so they're focused and they're ready, dude. Gonzaga always screws up something at the end, and I think they're probably just tired of that, you know.
Pete, where is Gonzaga at? I don't even know where they're from. Is that California?
Gonzaga is the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Yeah, where there's nothing but good beer and strip clubs.
Okay, cool. Who you got, Stevie?
I got Houston and Zags, and Baylor.
Stevie?
I think is vulnerable. I think Houston is just tough, and I think they're going to push Gonzaga around a little bit, but Gonzaga is just too good. These guys, they just put up a lot of points, so it doesn't matter what you throw at them defensively. These guys are going to put up a lot of points, so you're going to have to outscore them, and nobody's been able to do that this year, and this is their year for sure. And it's my Catholic guilt. It's a small Jesuit college
Yes.
where, again, as Pete said, a lot of strip joints, a lot of beer drinking, a lot of trees, nothing else to do but strip joints and play basketball. And then have a little guilt to go along with it. I kind of
Does anybody know the NBA Hall of Famer from Gonzaga?
Yes. Oh, I was going to say Morrison. He's not a. He wasn't.
Adam Morris. Yeah, but
John Stockton. John Stockton was the first big star. John Stockton put Gonzaga on the map.
Yeah. You know what, though? They were like a 500 team when he played. They weren't that great. And they really built something powerful up there in a small. So when we go back and just circle around to the money, that's a really small gym. Whenever you see their home guys, like, damn, they're not making any money. How are they doing it? And beating the Indianas and all the, Michigan, Duke, beating all these teams, man. Small gymnasium. Gotta love it.
Harley, who you got?
So who'd you pick, Steve? Who was it that you picked after all that?
Zags. Gonzaga.
Huh?
Gonzaga.
All right. Say it again.
Iowa got eliminated early, Harley.
I'm not really big on sports, but it sounds like Gonzaga are the underdogs. So, heck, let's throw them in. I'll vote for them.
It's not. I will say this: it's not who you play; it's when you play them. And I would not want to play Gonzaga right now.
Or UCLA.
Yeah.
Right on. Marvelous Marvin, you over there? Marvin, you watching any basketball? You got any say on who's going to win? You want to just pick one out of the hat?
No, I don't. I don't watch too much sports. I'd sooner play it than be a spectator. I don't want to pay people to do what I can do by playing the game myself.
So maybe we should pick 5 of us. Maybe we should be a team.
That's right. There you go.
We'll go out there. We'll play.
That's right.
Out there and
Marvin, I want you to be the captain.
Yeah. I don't need to see us fight.
What was that? Hey, okay, so because of Women's Month, March is Women's Appreciation Month or whatever it was. We should talk about the Final Four for the women and give your take on that. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so just so you guys know, let's go around quickly here and see what we got. Number 1 seed Stanford and South Carolina both cruised in last night. What happened? So we got Stanford, and then we got South Carolina, and then we also got UConn, and then we got Arizona in the Final Four. You guys gonna go for who you guys going for?
Stanford.
Pete.
That's so tough, all 4 of those teams are like Stanford is they're just monsters. Connecticut monsters. I mean, God, I just want to watch. I'm going to sound like these people that don't watch sports. I've never been on a Zoom where so many people don't watch sports. But I'm going to go and say something that people that don't watch sports say. I just want a good game. I just want to see a good game. Because I live in the Bay Area, I'm going to go with Stanford. Just because as you can see, I'm a Dolphins fan, so I don't care about the Niners or the Raiders. I don't care about the Bay Area as far as teams or rent. So I'm going to go – I have to go with Stanford. I have to go with Stanford.
My Buccaneers hat on there for my Dolphins buddy over there. All right. All right, Dad, you got anything to say about this? No? Women's basketball. You got Stanford, South Carolina, UConn, and Arizona. There we go. Last call. All right, Stevie.
You know what? I like women's sports. I like women's basketball because they play the game the way it's supposed to be played. They play under the rim. You don't see a lot of dunks. Don't see a lot of showing off. A lot of team. They play a team game. Connecticut, Stanford. Well coached. They're always, in the mix. South Carolina, they're really, really tough. I don't know anything about Arizona, but again, I'm going to be a homer and I'm going to say Stanford.
There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the home team too. Stanford for me.
Yeah.
The territorial deal. All right, Vaughn, you got anything, or Harley? We got.
Yeah.
We're gonna,
I'll just say, yeah. I mean, so I don't know what the options are again. I just had my thing cut out again a little bit, but I'll start with I love women everything. So every day is Women Appreciation Day for me. But I will tell you this: I would rather watch women play basketball than men because they are freaking badass. And they're out there really playing. They have to try so much harder than everybody else does. And I think I think you're going to see a real big uptick in viewership of the women's NBA and stuff like that. I think as far as these women's NBA, women's sports, as far as those things coming up in the next five years, because women have really gotten involved in sports as far as fans. And so I think you're going to see a real big change from that. And I just think they play with a lot more heart. So.
Agreed.
That's my part.
Agreed. Very good. All right, Marvin, good morning. Welcome to the show. Okay, so we're going to move it along here. Where's Anthony? Anthony disappeared. So there's a lot of crazy things. All right. Well, hopefully he'll join back on here in a second. A lot of crazy things going on in the world. There was a massive container that was shaped that was blocked in the Suez Canal, and it was finally freed. The good Lord had a full moon, helped them out. And then there was millions of dollars lost through that whole deal. That was pretty crazy.
I think hundreds of millions.
Say billion. Dr. Bass. He said they're losing $10 billion a day.
There you go.
10 billion? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I watched the news and not the ball game.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, you got what else you got?
Hey, they've tried to ban the canal, Dr. Seuss Canal, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Dr. Suez Canal. That's a good one.
Right? They canceled the canal,
Yeah, right?
guys. They canceled the canal.
Right. And then also canceling the... Man, my microphone's all jumped.
This is actually a lot of fun.
Governor Cooper, working on doing that. And he's got more people coming out about harassing him. And then, let's see, what else? Visa is allowing cryptocurrency to be on their programs now for transfer. That's pretty cool. It's moving along. And what else we got? So we talked about a couple things already. Let's go back to our hot topics. And I'm going to show you guys a few things. Hopefully hopefully Andrew will get back on the call. But we talked about March Madness and went from sports to courts already. And then we're going to talk about police reform and what should that look like, and hopefully gun reform and what is the holdup. And in this, also, we're going to talk about, the George Floyd redemption trial and what's going on with that whole deal. I also want to add this new little flashcard that we created today. So the concept here is that it's a hot minute so that we can not go off course. And I got a little minute timer. We got a minute timer on the clock there, on the little clock there. If you see that little Josh's screen, and then to help people out if we need to use it, I have this here. We got hot topic, hot potato, welcome, and then we're gonna say, okay, ready, go, 60 seconds, and then on the back side it's got, okay, let's wind it up, 10-second wrap up, all right, nice and civil, and then stop. All right, so let's get into it. Where is? Where's Andrew? Anthony. So let's see here. Police reform. What should that look like? I want to get into first with what I saw about the George Floyd trials. There was a gentleman. Oh gosh. He was the witness. He was an MMA fighter. I have his name here somewhere. and his name is Donald Williams, and he didn't want to be accused that he was angry. You know, in the beginning of the question, I don't know if any of you saw that interview or that statement or that witness when he was up there, but he was an MMA fighter and he was talking about what he saw. And when they were talking to him, they asked him about when he, was he growing angry? And he said, I wasn't angry, it was professional. I was growing more professional. And so I've taken anger management, and I don't know if anybody else here is in the room has taken anger management, but 2 people, okay? But it's for anybody who's taken it, like you, I believe you would say that you would think that everybody should take it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, maybe in the beginning you were upset that you had to take it, right? You were angry that you had to take anger management. But at the end, at the end of it, it was good. And I think that's a big thing about what's going on in law enforcement, and that's another thing that I want to add to the equation. Because I saw, where is Anthony? All right, so gun control. So it says here, the Second Amendment, it says, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed upon, not be infringed. So there's that everybody is. Oh, hey, Anthony, welcome back. So we're getting into gun control, and I just read the Second Amendment that everybody knows about. And we just talked about, we're talking about this gentleman who's a witness, who's an MMA fighter, and I just misplaced his name, and Donald Williams, and he was talking about what he saw, and they were asking him, were you growing angry? And then they kind of stopped the questioning in the whole deal. And then, so no, I was growing more professional. Anyway, I did a little search and I found that this one gentleman, he was Mark Tardy. He's a retired police sergeant, college instructor, and veteran. And then the question was, are police ever required to take anger management classes on a periodic basis? And this guy responded with, in the beginning, goes, no, and there's no need to. Officers are selected only after an extensive background examination, which includes taking to neighbors and former neighbors, ex-boyfriend, girlfriends, wives, husbands, credit checks, employment checks, etc., a psychological fitness, off-duty for duty examination, medical exams, and so on and so forth. And
the largest amount of domestic violence by job is police officer. I'm not sure if anybody's aware of this. Right. That's a joke. Sorry.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I agree with you. And so I'm going to go ahead and give you the hot minute to start this off. And at 15, go ahead and go. Go ahead, you're on.
15? All right. Okay, so, yeah, that's insane. These guys, they should be they should have to be drug tested. They should also have to undergo mandatory anger management. I would say once a year. They should all probably be seeing therapists as well. The police officers, they're supposed to be held to a higher, professionalism. And as far as police reform, it's just an absolute mess what's going on. And so people are talking about unfunding. They're not talking about unfunding the police. It's about having better programs and putting the money into smarter areas where we're not wasting money on just throwing people in jail, actually having programs to help society. But back to the whole thing with police officers, they should have psychological evaluations at least every 6 months. My thoughts. I don't know where I'm at on the time. I can't see the timer. But
you got about 15 seconds. Go for it.
Okay. And the bottom line is, any officer that thinks they don't need anything like that's questionable to me. They should all be on board with that kind of stuff. That's it.
Right on. Thank you. So we got drug testing and anger management. You agreed upon, I believe.
Now let me.
Harley,
can I go before I lose my connection? These assholes need to be checked. Them in the military. if you take a job where you want to run into gunfire, you're already a fucking psychotic. So we really need to check your ass. Okay? And we need to do a background check all the way back when you were a kid to see if your parents beat your ass, to see if you were abused, sexually molested. We need to know your history. Okay? Because somebody in their right mind doesn't take these jobs. So we already need to be suspicious about these people. And if you really want to solve the problem, take the guns away from the cops. The vast majority of cops in England do not carry guns. They have special forces that do. But the reason someone like Derek Chauvin is fucking Barney Fife for 2021. Okay, he wants to be a tough guy, and I have been in 2 times in my life I could have been killed. I've gotten to a confrontation with a cop like this where I was like, I'll whip your ass. I thought I got out of it because I was tough. It turns out I probably got out of it because I was white and I had money. But these people believe, and here's one of the things that no one's saying is they should. When they lose a settlement, I believe George Floyd's family got $60 million, we pay that bill. The taxpayer pays that bill. Here's what should happen. Each cop should have to carry their own liability insurance, like I do because I'm a therapist, like doctors do, like nurses do. And what'll happen is Chauvin has a history of violent interaction with people. Each time he would have been charged with something, his insurance would have gone up to the point his stupid, violent, weak ass couldn't afford to pay his insurance, and he'd be off the police force. So let's stop the taxpayers for footing the bills for these assholes. And the last point I want to make is when we talk about a cop killing somebody, that is the tip of the iceberg. Police corruption. Oakland, they had 14 cops that were participating in teen rapes. They were passing teenage girls around. And if you ever watched the Denzel Washington movie about the black gangster, when he turned in the drug force, 35% of the police force went to prison because they were dealing in drugs. So let's not pretend that the few that shoot people are the problem. That place is probably 30-40% absolutely corrupt. And we need to weed these damn people out. And they go out every day, they could die every day. No, 50 cops die a year. More people die fishing professionally. Garbage men are more likely to die. Loggers are more likely to die. Roofers are more likely to die. In fact, you know who's way more likely to die when they leave their house every day than a cop? A black man. Okay, so shut the fuck up with I'm a cop and it's a risk for me to go out. If you don't like that tiny ass risk you take, then take the fucking uniform off and go open a bakery, you pussy. That's my time.
Amen. Sorry.
Thank you.
Jay, you're muted. I don't know if you knew that.
Go ahead.
Jay, you're muted.
Jay.
Jason, please unmute. Thank you.
There you go.
Hey, everybody. That was awesome. Hey, so Pete, or who was it that mentioned this? Harley, you got something to say about that? Go ahead, Harley, you're on deck.
Oh, yeah. So, Anthony, I agree with disarming the police to an extent. I mean, I don't think every police officer should have a gun. I think that actually goes very hand in hand with the idea of gun rights in general. I think that if the general population is going to have guns, then maybe there's some justification for the police having guns. But those go together. I mean, if the police aren't going to have guns, we don't need guns either, I don't think. But like I said, that's just my opinion. I think the police are an extension of the state. So I think to a huge degree, they need to be held to a higher standard. They need to be getting these mental health checks. They need to be getting anger management, all that stuff that you guys were talking about. I think that's more than reasonable. I think you can even go as far to say that we don't need nearly as much policing as we do have because they aren't serving the purpose that they're supposed to. They're not serving the community. They're enforcing laws that nobody cares about. That's all I have to say.
Do you know why George Floyd's dead?
Nice.
Over a $20 bill, a counterfeit $20 bill.
Yeah.
I've actually passed 2 counterfeit $20 bills in my lifetime without knowing it. Not shit happened. Not shit. And these black men are dying over broken taillights. Shit like how this escalates is ridiculous.
Oh, and even worse, then their past comes into it like it freaking matters. Like, how the fuck does it matter what their past is?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. They already paid for it.
I just want to say something. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please, Mark.
Okay. I want you to think back of all these shootings, mass shootings, schools. In the last 2 weeks, there was let's talk about the Second Amendment that somebody brought up. The Second Amendment was when the Second Amendment was passed, we didn't have police forces. We didn't have military forces. We didn't have people like that. We had the guys with the 6 guns. They would walk around with their 6 guns. Okay, that's what we had. That's why they did that, because they didn't have peacekeepers. But now we have peacekeepers. We have military. We do not need to carry guns. No reason to carry guns.
Agreed. All right. Now, who hasn't spoken? I know Pete hasn't spoken, and I don't know if Steve hasn't spoken. But Pete, I believe you're on, buddy. Pete is a local comedian here in Monterey County. You gotta take.
I think it's done all wrong. I think all cops should be Samoan guys. I think that would solve all the problems right there. I'd be so afraid to commit crime. If I saw Junior Seau walking down, they're the only ones that don't need guns. Even Samoan mothers. I'm sorry. I'll put this back. I was gonna steal it. I'm sorry. I'll put this back. But on a serious note, I think we should look at the way firefighters work. Firefighters don't work 5 days a week overtime. What's a cop's schedule? They don't go 9 to 5. How long do cops work? 12 hours? They work a lot of hours. So let's be on the cop side for once. I'm not trying to piss anybody off, but if I work 3 hours, I'm pissed off. Get me out of here. But if I'm working 12 hours and I have to do the things that cops do, I think cops should work the way firefighters do. Work 3 days a week, take the other. And I'm not saying work them 12 hours, 14 hours. It's a job that I look in this room right now. Would anybody here want to be a cop right now? If somebody said, "Hey, you're a cop now. You want to do it?" Nope. Heck no. I'm going to sit here in my Zoom show. But I think it's like even good cops, because good cops are like, "Oh, I'm a good cop." Yeah, right. You're a good cop. It's such a touchy thing. I don't agree with the killings and the shootings. I just turned 40, so for me, Columbine was as real as it could get when I was a kid, and I saw that and I said, that could have been my school. But I live in the east side of San Jose. The problem with that is if somebody had a gun at the school, there's other people. We would look to the kids to protect us more than the police, So it's different from each city. It's different in each city. There's kids that are being neglected across the country differently the way they are in other parts of the world. Kids are growing up differently. Rich kids are growing up because their parents are at work all day, so they have no one to talk to. Poor kids have their parents there, and they're angry that they don't work. There's so many different things that are involved in this, and it's just like I worry about my son who's 3, about my nieces and nephews. Whenever I hear about these shootings, I pray to God it's not anybody that I know, but it's happening so much. It's insane, and that's why I say it's never Mexican kids that are shooting up schools, because all these kids are getting their guns from their dads, and Mexican kids don't have dads to get guns from. So it's real. It's such a weird thing, and as much as I would wish that it would go away, it's never going to go away. It's never going to go away. There's always going to be one person that had a bad day that's going to take it out on somebody else that doesn't deserve it, and it's such a sad thing. Guns aren't going away as much as I wish they would. They're just not. It sucks, but it's not going to change. I wish it would, but I haven't seen any change at all.
So what should change? So Pete. So we're talking about police reform, and then we're going to segue into gun reform, because it's kind of connected a little bit. Because now we're in this process of, with the shootings a couple weeks ago or last week and the week before, that we were talking about last week. What's the holdup? What's going on? Why is there a stall in every state, and what's going on? And then also, we got the feds versus the states, right? And then we got, what is it?
I just want you guys to think about
background check. Is that long? Is it going to be long enough? From 3 days to 20 days. Is that 20 days? Is that really going to do anything?
I want you to think about something, and that is, look in the last 5 years. How many white guys were shot by cops? I don't think any, but they shot all kinds of black guys for doing nothing, like the $20 bill.
And girls.
Okay, they went into this girl's house and they shot her. They killed her, whatever her name was.
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor. This white girl, she went into somebody else's apartment because she was drunk, but she was a cop and she had a gun. The guy was sitting there eating ice cream. He's a black guy, but it was his apartment, and so she shot him. How many white people were shot in the last 5 years by cops?
A lot.
Zero.
A lot.
Zero.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
How many?
Bullshit. And you know what? A lot of that is, Marvin, media's not going to say that. I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the facts right now. And because we have more white people are getting shot. But the proportion, if you look at the percentage, the higher percentage of black people and people of race are getting shot, but more white people are getting shot. 2020, 457 white people were shot compared to 241 black people, 169 Hispanic.
Yeah, but the white people got shot in the shoulder. The other people got shot in the head.
Well, the point is, and there's some truth. But what happens is,
and why don't we use net guns? Why don't we just use net guns?
All this other bullshit, but they don't tell you the whole story. And that's why we can say, hey, white people don't get shot. Everybody gets shot by cops. And I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it is an overall problem. It's an overall problem altogether. Yeah, I agree. However, listen, the fact of the matter is, though, we do know that disproportionately black people are not discriminated, but they're targeted out. It just happens. It's just how it is because there's more white people than there is black people. So I agree with what you're saying, but we also don't get to see all the closet racism. And now we got to see it over the last 4 years. But I traveled the country when I was younger. And I went to cities that 20 years ago, we couldn't drop black guys off at the door to door because they would get freaking run out of town all over the place. So anyways.
Well, I'll tell you what, when it comes to the coppers, I'm an East Coast transplant. I am scared shitless of a cop from Philadelphia. I am scared shitless of a New Jersey state policeman. I am scared shitless of a Pennsylvania state policeman.
We shouldn't be scared of police. They're supposed to be protected.
I'll tell you what, if you're pulled over, you screwed up, and these are badass motherfuckers. And I'll tell you what, when you think about where I live here in Monterey, California, I don't feel very served and protected. And you're right, cops work 12-hour shifts. 3 days.
Hey, but they work 12-hour shifts for overtime.
They beg for overtime.
They have other jobs. They like the pension. They like the security, and then
they promote each other right before they get retired and screw the fucking taxpayers.
They're running other jobs. I know a guy in Sand City has a $1 million a year landscape company, and he is a copper in Seaside or Sand City because his family is going to be set up for the rest of their life with that pension. And Sand City supports Seaside, and Seaside is a little rough, but here in Monterey, again,
it's a nice place.
I don't feel served and protected at all. And they hide crime, and it's not in any of the publications because, like they say here, it takes a lot of years to build a good reputation for tourism and 10 minutes to ruin it. If they started putting things in the Herald, if they started putting things out there, it would scare people. And you look at San Jose. I lived in San Jose, and if depending on that cop that approached me for whatever reason, I screwed up or I invited them into my life, I wasn't exactly, confident that I was going to get out of something. And because again, in the bigger cities, the cops do a lot of other bullshit, and they don't want to deal with it. But yes, take the guns away. But then again, the bad guys got the guns, and I don't want them to have them either.
Bad guys are always going to have the guns.
Yeah, and how many?
But the
how
bad
many
guys
times-
are the fucking white guys going in and fucking shooting all the people in murder sprees.
Yeah, Stevie, how many times have you had somebody pull a gun on you?
Twice.
Okay. I'm 55. I have been a loudmouth my whole life. I want to fight. I wanted to get into a confrontation. Never once have I had someone pull a gun on me. I've never even been around anywhere where someone pulled a gun on someone. But that might be because I don't drink and I don't go to bars. I don't hang out with idiots and drunks. I don't hang out with addicts.
I provoked it. One time I provoked it. Some guy cut me off. I was a young punk. I went after him. And sure enough, he stopped, whipped out a gun. The second time, I worked for Safeway in Willow Glen, in San Jose.
Wow, in Willow Glen.
And you know what? Some fucker came in there and grabbed me and took me hostage at gunpoint, knowing that I was part of the management team and I can get this fucker into the safe. He put that gun to my head.
Okay.
And what saved my life was, because they told me this, I didn't like this guy. He didn't like me. I fucking didn't like him. And I told him that. And, when he said, I'm going to shoot you, and he put that gun, I could just picture my brain sitting the wall. And I eventually did open the safe for him. But I wasn't about to do it right away. I wasn't about to bow to this motherfucker. And he and his partner, they switched roles the next time they did a robbery. One was on lookout, the other guy had the gun. And the guy in charge up in Los Altos was afraid, showed fear, and he got shot.
Right.
I'll tell you what, when you have a gun pressed to your head and some guy says, I'm going to shoot you, you take that kind of seriously. And if I had my wits about me, I wouldn't have been the asshole I was to him, but being an asshole probably saved my life.
Right.
I had a kid pull a gun on me in high school in the cluster office because he was smart mouthing some girl. I got tired of hearing it. I told him to shut the fuck up. So he pulls up his shirt, shows me a gun. I picked him up out of his fucking chair.
Right.
Grabbed him by the fucking shirt. And I told him, do it, motherfucker. Go ahead and do it. He did not do anything.
Right. And that makes my point. That's the point I wanted to make is all three of those examples, a gun didn't protect you from the situation and a gun didn't get you out of the situation. So really, and here, being a psychology guy, being a psychologist and therapist for a year, here's the lie that we tell, that America is the home of the brave. We are not the home of the brave. When you watch the Western and those two guys on that shootout in the street, all those motherfuckers running behind the saloon doors and into the bank, those are Americans. Americans are pussies. That's why anyone that carries a gun, I automatically know you're telling me you're a perpetually frightened pussy. And you can't control your irrational beliefs. And I post this all the time on Facebook. If you follow my page, anytime someone starts preaching guns, I used to tell them in San Antonio, come up to the comedy club, bring your gun, and let's see who gets their ass whipped. Not one time does someone show, because only cowards carry guns. Okay? Right. We are not home the brave. As somebody said, these cops, they definitely, but here's the thing that I think is really odd if we really think about this, guys, is very few people are killed in mass shootings. The actual vast majority of people are killed by guns, suicide.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and most of the people that are shot with a gun actually have a gun that are shot by the police. So if we really want to cut down, it's the mass shootings get the attention, but they don't get 1/50th of the body count of suicides. So
which is the largest number, correct?
Exactly. So when we're looking at background checks for who should have a gun, anyone that's an addict shouldn't have a gun. Anyone that has a violent crime, any military member who suffers from PTSD, anyone on psychological medicine, that would, if we took that, anyone that's hooked on pain meds, muscle relaxers, codone, anything, you're not allowed to operate machinery, much less a gun. So your ass should not be able to operate a gun. If we took those rules and said,
Jay, make sure you get to Harley.
We would reduce the suicides, and we would reduce the people that have guns. But other countries have solved these problems, and we keep ignoring that. Other countries have brought their mass shootings to zero. Other countries have brought their homicides to, Japan had 10. 10 people in Japan were killed with guns last year. 10. All right, I'm ready for Harley. What's up,
All
Harley?
right, let's go, Harley.
Okay.
What about Ninja Stars?
So
how many people were killed by Ninja Stars? I'm pretty sure that
people are just like ban them, and it's a power struggle, right? Is that we use the guns, but I don't think guns should be used for self-defense or anything like that. I think guns are 100% exactly what the Constitution said they were, to form a militia. I'm not like some crazy constitutionalist, but I do agree with that. That's just one of those things I think is okay. You know, if the state is going to be armed, we should be armed. Even when you take away the police's guns, there's still the military, and it's still really easy to deploy the military onto the citizens if the government needs to, right? So I don't think we should necessarily be quick about, you know, putting regulations in, especially when it's just for like people who are on medications or people who have like criminal history. I don't feel like that's almost discriminatory. I don't think that's okay, right? If we believe in a system where people are redeemable, then I think that everybody should be allowed to have the same rights as anyone else. So if you're going to get rid of guns, fine. But I don't like this weird half-assed in-between where it's like, oh, well, we're going to take away guns from, you know, poor people or people who commit crimes. Because that's the people who commit crimes. People who commit crimes do it because of their material conditions, right? Poor communities are the people who are going to be committing crimes.
Yeah, monetary crimes, I guess, maybe. But not, I mean, you have white-collar people, too, that fucking do monetary crimes. It's probably bigger than the poor people.
Yeah, much
right. But just I just get hung up on it. I don't really like it when we just say, well, we're going to put in some regulation, because I just feel like that really hurts the people in the bottom and it doesn't really affect the people on the top at all.
Okay, so let me ask you, Harley, isn't the National Guard our militia? Each state has a National Guard. Isn't that our militia?
They're still a state service, though. That's the problem.
I mean, but that's okay. I got you. They're still okay. If the military was to turn on the society, they're not going to kill you with guns. They're going to disable you with gas. They're going to cut off your food and water. You would never get a chance to fire on the military with your gun. They would cut you off other ways. So, and I'm not just saying you, Harley. I hear that argument a lot. I got to protect myself. The government would take your ass out in your sleep. You would never know. Right. And I do agree that, you know, we don't factor in the fact that they have like bombs and stuff like that, or gas or anything like that. I feel like it's that last thing that people have. And I definitely see your side of it. And I mean, the evidence doesn't lie, I suppose. I mean, it's clear that we have higher homicides than other countries. It's just, man, it's something I get hung up on, but maybe it's just because I grew up with a lot of guns. Being from Iowa, you know, I fired a gun when I was 10 years old. So
I had my hunting license at freaking 9 years old. Didn't miss an opening morning until 18. I don't have a single gun in my house because I don't need to be fucking shot by it.
Yeah. That's, are y'all? Who's aware of that stat? If you own a gun, you are more likely to die from your gun than you are to use your gun against someone.
And more than likely by someone you know.
Exactly. And the other, if a woman is in a home with a spouse or a boyfriend that owns a gun, she's 7 times more likely to be killed by that gun. So all the statistics say a gun actually makes you less safe.
Yep.
Well, I think if that's the case, what we should do is, you know, instead of defunding the police and talk about gun and control, if we just, you know, changed how we recruit police and just get a bunch of Jewish and Catholic mothers out there who just guilt us into things. Just guilt us. I mean, my God, I would just lay down if some Jewish or Catholic mother, you've been a bad boy. You can't be doing that. Or, oh my God, Jimmy's not a bad kid. Oh my God. You know, that's what we need in this country. More mothers like that to just be parents, so some of this shit won't happen. And, you know, you expand on it, divorce. Moms want to be friends with their kids. We as dads, we become the disciplinarian and the Disney dad, and kids are all messed up. So again, let's get some more Jewish and Catholic mothers out there to straighten some shit out. That's what we need.
You want to change? You want to really change society, change things, and we can go deeper in this another time. But we need subsidized childcare.
That's true.
That's the bottom fucking line. That's the bottom fucking line.
To me,
that would change everything.
Yeah, even one step further than that, Vaughn. Before that is we need to establish laws for who can have children. That everyone cannot have children. That you have to pass certain tests to have a child. Too many idiots are having children.
Let's have a vote. Did Anthony have any more kids?
But people change when they have kids. People change when they have kids.
Yeah.
I've seen girls that were total shit bags and fucking drug addicts. Whenever they have a kid, they fucking completely turn that shit around.
Yeah.
Right. I as a therapist and a counselor, I've seen drug addicts and sexual molesters have kids and fuck their kids on a regular basis.
Here's the other thing.
A lot of them don't change.
Yeah.
Great. Hey, so let's say back on course again. Okay, we're gonna bring that up in another topic. Hot topic. Oh my God, let's get the thing going across the screen. Hot topic. Okay, so
hey, I gotta cut out of here, buddy. I will catch up with you guys next week.
All right, well, we're gonna cut this thing off here soon. Okay, but
thank you, brothers.
All right, thanks for showing up. All right,
thank you, absolutely, brother. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you, everyone.
Give me a full report tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you, absolutely, brother. All right, bye.
All right. So, you know how the cops walk on the beat. There's a gentleman in Old Town Salinas. Tyler's his name. He works with the local security company that's watching downtown, and he wants a job with the police, but they don't have a beat cop slot, and that's his thing. And he's kind of he's kind of staying where he's at because he likes it. But he feels that that's an important thing, and I've had some conversations with him, and I like that we've gotten away from that. You know, when they got the vehicles back years ago, and so they got off the street and they got into the cars, the police, and they got away from the people and the citizens in the community. And so let's just think about the Bobbies for a minute. You know, the Bobby cops, they don't have the weapons. So the Bobby cops are like the people on the street, like these not the guest cops, but the security cops, you know, and the security officers or whatever they're called from the security guards. And so that's kind of like the level of policing. We need to bring another level of policing in that's more community based and has a little bit more training on civil things and is more of a front line. And then if you need the weapons, then you bring in the SWAT team or you bring in this other elite team that is possessing these weapons on a regular basis for some kind of combative thing against the bad guys who have the weapons. But for the most part, most citizens aren't going to be using their weapons for anything in the community. You know, they're going to be using it out in the wilderness or doing, you know, or whatever, but chopping wood with it. I don't know.
I researched the shit out of this. I believe it's 3% of policing involves the use of a gun. Right? So when people were saying defund the police, they weren't saying get rid of the police. They were saying exactly what you're saying, Jay. Let's community police. Let's have the police live in that community that they police. Let's have them go out without guns. When guns are needed, we have a force like England does where we will send them in. But the gun is so infrequently involved in policing that this would be a great idea. Like George Floyd, have y'all been watching the trial? Clearly he was on drugs. Clearly he was having a problem with drugs that day. We didn't need the cops to handle this. We needed a drug counselor out there to diffuse the situation, handcuff him, let him exhaust his ass, pick him up, put him in a paddy wagon and take him away. That's it. We're done. This is easy as shit. I've had to restrain. I've had to restrain mental health patients numerous times. That's the other thing I wrote down earlier. If 4 cops can't take down a guy, take the L and let him go. You lost. Okay, you're too stupid and weak to be a cop anyway. But yeah, what you're saying, I agree. Community policing, take the guns out of their hands and only bring in people with guns when it's absolutely necessary.
I'm going to load my weapon right now. And then I'm gonna say everybody should have vests like Stevie P over there.
Yes, that's bulletproof.
And put them on the old ladies on the corner there, and do their thing and make sure they have vests.
I'm making
Pete, you have anything to say, Pete? Come back. What was that, Stevie?
This is a fashion statement. You kidding me?
Okay, Pete, do you have anything to say about this? Or are you gone?
No, I'm good. I thought that was Anthony covered a lot. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's really tough to deal with people that are on whatever they are on. You know, sometimes you don't know what someone's on. Sometimes you see someone walking down the street. I was driving over here on the way over down the street, and there was a guy that was acting tough, driving in the middle of the road on the way here. Mexican dude, tatted up, driving in the middle of the road. So what am I supposed to do? Honk the horn and have to deal with him? Nope. I just let him move, and I got out the way. You know, it's not going to be my problem. Let it be someone else's. Hopefully it's nobody's problem. But he had a bottle of Mad Dog 2020 in his hand. And I thought to myself, if you need Mad Dog 2020 to get drunk, you have a lot of problems. Yeah, a lot of problems, because that stuff is gross. No liquor tastes good, but that stuff tastes bad. You know, so I just let the situation. Walking in the middle of the road. I'm telling you, if I would have honked my horn, hey, get out the way. You're in the middle of the road. What are you doing? I'd still be there right now. It would have turned into something. And, you know, I don't want anything to turn into anything. So I just kept my mouth shut and came here to do this with you guys.
How about this as a suggestion, guys? Tell me how you think this worked with adults. I worked with behavior problem kids in the school district. That was my specialty, kids that were behavior problems. So one of the first things I would do is explain to the kids, now here's what we're going to do. And if you don't do that, then you can't have your phone, you can't have your games. I will clear your room essentially of everything but a mattress. You're not going to take it. And I would immediately, as soon as he put any resistance, I would take his phone and break it in half in front of him. If we started taking people off of social media, if we started taking their phones and we restricted adults in that way, I think people are so desperate for those things, they would actually fall more in line than actually going to jail. People hate to, I'm in Facebook jail again all the time. You know what I mean? People love to be on this thing. So what do you think? If we started restricting adults in that way, would that not be a more effective punishment than jail?
Yeah, sure.
How are you restricting people?
What's that?
How are you restricting people?
Why? Is that what you said? Why?
No, how are you restricting people?
That's what I'm saying by actually taking down their social media accounts, taking away, say maybe their driving privileges. Now they have to walk. They can't get on social media. We make life more inconvenient for them. I think people would tend to go, I'm not going to do this because I don't want to live.
Like we did in the 70s?
Yes, exactly.
I don't feel as though it was a hardship. I mean, we had a great life, man.
Right.
And right now, I think life is harder because of all this shit on social media and how you use your day. Oh my God, I was so busy today. What'd you do? How much time you spent on that device? It's like, really, man? No.
Yep. Finger filing. Hey, so I was listening to some comedy before I came here. Christopher Titus, some of you know, I met him once. Finally, it was awesome. He goes, "Don't mess with a nation that needs medication."
He's a Florida boy. He's a Florida boy.
Yeah. So now let's get into you guys. We have two celebrities here. Anthony here on the call. He's a comedian, and he also is a therapist, and he's had a whole history of that, and he's going to explain that to you all. And then Stevie P is a publisher with Foolish Times, and he has another business that he does and he runs. And these are the two gentlemen that we are featuring tonight.
We got Pete Munoz on here too from San Jose.
And Pete Munoz is a comedian, and he was featured in the Foolish Times in March as well, and it's still March. So we're still, and that's why you're on the call, Pete. So, so hang tight for a minute. So Anthony, I want to say thank you for being a part of this show and this call, and for being a part of it from the very beginning years ago. So go ahead and tell the world who you are and what's going on, and Give it to us.
Okay. I'm actually Charles Blevins. Anthony Torino is the stage name. My real middle name is Anthony. Torino was my first car. Became an occupational therapy provider at 19 years old. So I started providing occupational therapy does mental health, we do addiction, and we do physical injuries. And I got my degree in that in the Air Force. I had to go to school at the Army, but I was in the Air Force. So I started doing that at 19 years old. And all I wanted to do was help sick people, because at 8 years old, I had cancer. And at 13 years old, I had histoplasmosis, which is a lung disease that's 75% fatal. And you start coughing till you turn blue and you die. So every time I started coughing, I thought I was going to die for a year. So I wanted to help people that were sick once I recovered from that. So I joined the military, got my degree in occupational therapy. I did not want to go to college. I hated college. But once I joined the military, and people that were dumber than me were my boss because they had degrees, I got out and I got a degree in clinical psychology. I got a degree in behavior modification. I got a master's degree in counseling and human development. Because what I found by working with patients, even if they have a physical injury, it's the mental aspect that interferes with the rehab of a physical injury. It's people's fears and anxieties is the number one thing that stops them from getting well, be it mental or physical. So I invented a physical rehab process where we only treat patients in groups, because I learned that working with the mentally ill and addicts. So if I had 50 back surgery patients, all 50 came in at the same time. We spent all day rehabbing, and we did it as a group, and the patients helped the patients. And we went out into the community and we played sports, and we did our exercises, and we made a family out of it. So I became pretty successful at that. At 27, I opened my own rehab centers. I did not want to be a businessman. That was not a goal of mine, but I did that, and it became real successful and made me millions of dollars. And I did that till I was 39, and my wife was killed in a motorcycle accident, and I retired from that. And at 45, I could only find one other thing that interested me, and that was comedy. I had always been a huge George Carlin and Chris Rock fan. So I went to my first open mic in Birmingham, Alabama. It turned out it was a yearly competition. It was the first time I'd been on stage. I did 5 minutes. I got a standing ovation, and I won. And I was hooked. So I started going to the open mics, doing that. 5 years later, I was a headliner at the Improv, and I was on Showtime and Comedy Warriors because I'm a veteran. And now I spend 95% of my time writing movies and television shows and getting into that area. And it's based on my life experiences and the things I've seen. So I've had quite a wonderful life.
So some of the people may have seen the video of you on the call when you were had the rebel flag behind you.
Yes.
Go ahead and explain to everybody why that was the case, because nobody on the call kind of knew, and everybody was learning who you were. And I think that was part of a pitch, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's actually a television show I've written called County Road 114, and it's about a regional hospital opening up in a town, and it's staffed by foreigners, and the town is a little town in Kentucky, and it's a racist little town. And the dirt road divides the new development from the old hillbillies that lived there, and the whole show, and the reason that came up is I was raised in the military. My dad was military. So I was raised on military installations where there's very little racism that I knew of. So my dad retired in Montgomery, Alabama in 1979, and I was introduced to racism. And by that time, it doesn't make sense because you can reason shit out. And I ended up, I got lucky at Auburn University, and I did a speech on segregation because the schools were still segregated in 1987 when I was in college. And I ended up at the Southern Poverty Law Center and helped write author a book about the people that died in the Civil Rights March era. So I'm a historian on civil rights and politics. Those are my two side areas. So I'm in Black Lives Matter. I do the marches. I do that type of thing because I can't believe that we did this to people in our society. Once I learned about it, it was just ridiculous what we've done to minorities, especially blacks and women in this country.
What were you doing with the flag?
The flag was from the pitch deck that I was pitching in Hollywood about the movie. I put the flag up as a joke because it's ridiculous. Yeah. So for the cover of the television show,
The one
it's
in
the
the
rebel
blue on the
flag.
left. He's like, of course
So
you do, because
it
he's
was-
the only
it was
one
first
doing
time we gave him the
blow.
green screen, and that's what he
in a
had.
hotel
Yes,
room.
exactly.
So he showed. I was like, okay, great. We're gonna start this thing off very controversial. Okay, good. So Pete, before we give it over to Steve, Pete, you were interviewed last month by Steve, and you're a comedian as well. You're in the middle of the end of March Madness, and you're in the beginning of April Fools. What does that mean to you, and how? And tell me a little bit about your relationship with Steve, and then we'll get into you, Steve. All right?
It means nothing to me. I don't know. Hey, I'm over here talking about NBA or NCAA basketball players not getting paid for their stuff. Don't say anything like that to a comedian. All right?
Exactly.
Don't talk to me about getting paid, because I'll tell you right now, there are a lot of comedians that think that they should be getting paid that should not be getting paid at all. I'll tell you that right now. And I'm not afraid to say their names if I could remember them. It's a tough thing to do. You know, it's a tough thing to do. I met Steve. Let me see. We were doing shows over at Planet Gemini or whatever they want to call that building whenever somebody takes over the new building. We were doing shows there, and Steve hit me up. We did an interview. And then the second one took me like 2 months to do it, only because I don't check my emails. I just don't. And I did that just in my car. He emailed me, do it. I'll do it today. And I feel bad because I know what it's like to want something from somebody and not get it like until 2 weeks later. But no, I love going out to Monterey. My cousin Ruben used to be one of the editors for one of the papers out there in Carmel. I should know this information. But yeah, my cousin Ruben used to write out there, or was one of the editors. I love going out to Monterey. I like going out to Seaside. I like going out to dangerous parts of the world. Monterey is nice, and then you're like, whoa, Seaside, there's a lot of biker bars out here. But you know, we see you stand up out there. I love going to places where stand-up comedy should not exist and making it work. People ask me, hey, how come you don't go to the Punchline on Sunday at San Francisco? Because they don't fucking need me, and I don't need them. I don't need to be at a place where comedy is so easily accepted. I want to be that flower like Tupac, the rose that grew in the cracks. You know, that's how I like to do stuff. Because when you do that and you bring comedy to people that don't really have comedy that much, they're gonna appreciate it more. They're gonna come back and support. They're gonna tell their friends and be like, look, hey, we found this little secret fishing hole here in Monterey, and let's all enjoy this. You know, and that's why I like Monterey. You know, because I've been going there for years. When Planet Gemini was, they would bring national headliners to that place, you know, and I used to love just to go there just to watch, you know. I seen Felipe Esparza destroy that place, you know, and I really can't wait to come back and see everybody, you know. I really do miss it.
Pete, I want to talk to you about a place in Monterey I was talking to Steve about. But thank you very much, Pete, for being on the call and being here this month.
Thank you for having
me. Oh, you just left, Aaron? Okay, Stevie P. Tell us about you, buddy. I know that you're a publisher with the Foolish Times.
You know, I am. I've done a lot of different things in my life, and this was kind of something that was I never wanted. I didn't want to be a publisher. I didn't want the publication. I just left the room during negotiations and came back, and my business partner said, "You're now the publisher of Foolish Times. I wrote a check out of your account." And I said, "You are not my girlfriend. You are not my wife. You're not allowed to piss me off like this." And the guy who started this thing, Mike Miley, great guy, and another East Coast guy, he's from Westchester County, New York. He showed up here and said, Monterey's not a fun place, nor is it a funny place. And he started this thing. And now that I've been involved with it for almost 8 years now, I really get what he was talking about. For me, I've always thought I was funny. There are some people who will debate that, but I like publishing. I like talking to comedians. I like being around comedy. I like being around funny people. I like bringing the kind of entertainment we bring to the community and beyond, and we're always looking beyond. This month is National Humor Month, which is April, as of tomorrow. And I got to meet and hang out with Larry Wilde and his wife, who was the guy who pushed the legislation through Congress years ago to get this on the books, that it is National Humor Month. And Larry's a great guy. He said he was touring. He goes, I wasn't that funny. There are nights people didn't laugh. He goes, I found my niche in writing. He is the best-selling joke book author in the world. And again, great guy, learned a lot from him. This month in April, we brought in a guy, Mickey Joseph. Mickey traveled the country as Joey Bishop in the Rat Pack. And he's also has 7 steady years in Vegas. He was in the Bay Area in the 80s when comedy was, I mean, there weren't enough comedians to play the clubs. It was just a crazy time in the 80s in the San Francisco Bay Area for comedy. And he was there. Monterey, he played the Boiler Room, which was comedy that preceded Planet Gemini in Cannery Row. And but he, you know, we got together a couple weeks ago. He came down, met him. He's doing art. You know, the cover of this month is his original art, and it is titled Comedy Club, where what you're looking at on the cover, I know Jay has a copy of it, is from the comedian's point of view from the stage. Everyone's paying attention to him, and the server and the bartender are back there bored to death, which is how it should be. And, you know, to hear the traveling comedians, the guys who tour, and to hear their stories, and I love it. I love bringing comedy to, again, our audience. During the pandemic, we got a lot of calls, emails saying thanks. Anything that I think is news is all bad and usually not true. And we were appreciated. When shit gets rough, for me, I just resort to sarcasm, comedy. When I'm under pressure, under stress, I go right to that part in my brain. And I find humor in so many things. I don't get mad anymore. I just find humor in shit. Because there's a lot of dumb shit out there, and I'd rather laugh about it than be pissed off about it. And, you know, what we're all going through, like what Anthony does, what he's done with his life, what Pete has done, what other comedians have done. There's some folks out there, they're not wired right. Comedians I spoke with, they're just not wired right. But there's some people out there who it's scripted, it's good, it's tight. They went to acting classes, you know, it's a script. And some of these guys aren't naturally funny. They just want to get up there and do it, whether it be girls, whatever it is, make a living. But, you know, when you're on the road, it's lonely. It's a lonely life. And you got to be built a certain way. So I like getting out of bed. I like publishing. I like talking with these guys. I like hanging out with them. I love watching them perform. And, you know, we need more comedy in our lives. We need more people to look at things and say, that's messed up, but find humor in it. You know, let's not shoot each other. Let's not be angry with each other. You know, there's a lot of solutions out there if we just be a little more rational and maybe sit around and find the humor in things, because there's humor in pretty much everything out there. And I'm very happy and proud and humble with the group of people I get to work with, because they're very talented. And even though we have professionals, we also have people who are finance people or, you know, have done other things, but they're funny. They're really funny. And it's an outlet for that. And I want to reward that, because there's so many people out there that read us and they feel that and they get it. Or they'll tell their friends a joke. All of a sudden they go from being angry to say, you know what? People like funny people. I'm going to memorize a joke. And they're funny. Now they feel better about themselves. Their self-esteem goes up. Their friends feel better about them. And you're sharing some happiness. And that's good. More happiness. I like that. So, you know, Jay, you've written for us. Anthony, we welcome you to send stuff.
I'd love to.
You know, and we welcome it because, you know, people want that. We really do want that. We don't want to be mad. We don't want to be having these debates about guns and weapons and, you know, abuse and all these things. Well, we shouldn't be having these debates, but we do. And because of what the people on top aren't very funny. Biden's not very funny. Trump wasn't funny. Obama certainly wasn't funny. Clinton tried. His wife certainly has no sense of humor. And, you know, we do. And we need to spread that joy. We need to show people we're happy. We need to let people know that it's okay. It's all right. And when you have topical comedians, or like Larry said, there's 36 varieties of ice cream at Baskin-Robbins, something for everyone. He goes, you may not laugh at my humor, but there's 35 other varieties of humor you may laugh at. So find your humor, find your funny spot, go out and do it. And you jumped up on stage and you felt that rush, and it's a drug, feels good. I don't want to do that. I promised myself that I'll never go out on the road. I'll never do that. I like what I do, and I appreciate and respect the people who I work with and for, and the guys that chime in and want to be part of what we do. Pete, here's a guy who, again, grew up on the East Side. He was driving up to San Francisco for shows. He showed up. I saw him here. Jay was there, Planet Gemini. Yep. They were probably more comedians than people. And I don't want to say comedians aren't people, but they play to, they're not all on the big stage. You're not all making the big bucks. And like Mickey said, he said, we come out of this, the old timers aren't going to want to go back to open mics. The old timers, there's March. The old timers aren't going to want to do that. They're going to be entitled to say, I want to get back up there. It ain't going to happen. He said, comedy's dead. Comedy clubs are going to be a dying thing. And it's a shame because we need comedy. We need funny. And it takes us away from our life. It gives us something to laugh at and just forget the doldrums and the bullshit of the day.
And nothing's easier to send a message than comedy. Every script I've written and almost every joke I've written is really a serious message. It's and sometimes it's a horrible, vicious joke, but it's 20% of rape victims have an orgasm. That's true. So the joke is 20% of rape victims have an orgasm. I'm like, at first I was shocked, then I was pissed because that's better than my batting average with consensual sex, right? It's a horrible joke, but now people know that's why some women don't report rape. So I love, when my wife died, that became a 4-minute routine that I do on death and finding her body on the side of the road because it's horrible, but it's hilarious.
Well, we also need to push the envelope like that. Yes. And now comedy's being censored. Pete, you're gonna start dealing with that too as we come out of this. It's being censored. There's a guy in Canada who did over this one routine over 300 shows. Yep. And guess what? This handicapped kid who was talking about, he's got laughs. That's why he keeps doing it. He goes, oh my God, you're affecting me. I'm handicapped. And his family's jumping. Are you kidding me? Comedy needs to push boundaries.
That's what it's designed to do.
That's what it's all, push the boundary. And in our pub, we're not going to throw the F-bomb out there. We're not going to get in politics. We're not going to do religion. We're not going to do certain stupid things. But we have started to push a little further into something a little more adult, a little edgy. We take some jokes and rewrite them and we localize them, or we go after some people at times in a fun way. We're not going to be cruel. We're just not going to do that. But comedy needs to continue to push boundaries. They need to do that. And again, this cancel culture, this whole thing about if we don't like what you have to say, we're gonna pull the plug. And that's what's happening in our country. And it's happening to comedians where they're afraid. They're afraid to push the envelope now.
Oh, I love it. It makes me want to push it more.
Oh, they're not going to be on the Tonight Show. They're not going to be on Ferguson because, again, you can't do that stuff anymore. You can't do it.
Pete knows
if you're funny enough, you can talk about anything. If you can write a good enough joke, you can bring up any subject. And I love that challenge.
Here's a joke that I do in February, and I've asked my comedian friends that are Black and Asian if this joke is good. They get mad at me because they didn't write it. So the joke is, you know that Chinese New Year and Black History Month are at the same time of the year. What a horrible month for chickens. And my Black comedian friends, he goes, fuck, I wish I would have thought of that. My friends say the same thing. I wish I would have thought of that, you know? And it's sharing in on the fact that, you know, it's what the joke for me is saying that Asians eat chicken too. You know, right. That's the way for the way I see it. Asians eat chicken too, like a lot of chicken during February, and it's like the turkey month for November. It's like chicken should be a February, you know. And I've told that joke, and I've asked my friends, is this too far? Is this racist? If it is, I won't tell it. But right. And they go, I'm mad because that joke is right in front of my face and I didn't think of it.
Right, and it's making fun of the stereotype. It's not feeding it, it's making fun of it. And that's what I tell people, is it's the perspective, because you don't have the same perspective listening to it as I did writing it. Fuck you. Walk out. That's your choice. Yeah. Because I follow that first joke and I say I started a rape prevention program, which involves me staying at home on the weekends.
Yeah.
Right? Because men are rapists. So that's the point of that joke.
Yeah. And like I said, I have a joke about gay guys, where gay guys come from. Gay guys come from behind. Not once has a person that is gay come up to me and said, that's offensive. No one has ever said anything about any of my jokes that said that's offensive. You know, if they do, we'll talk about it. But when I tell a joke like that and the whole place likes it and enjoys it, you know, because I did a show for a mental health clinic here in San Jose, and we did all those jokes that everyone's laughing at, but everybody was afraid to laugh at those jokes because they were with their coworkers.
Yes.
So everybody went like this. No. They were so mad. And I go, and at that point, I go, you guys work in mental health. Like you guys work too much. You guys need to do this at a comedy club with some beers. You need to find out who your real coworkers are, because everyone like this.
Oh, you should see, because like I said, I worked with special ed kids. So I would do a joke. I walked into one of the classrooms, and a kid with Down syndrome is fighting a kid who's mentally retarded. And they were like, no, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. I'm like, look, both y'all need to sit down. I got bad news for both of you. Right. And then what happened? People ooh and on, and I go, oh, that's offensive. You know who wrote that joke? That Down syndrome kid. I actually bought the joke from him. He's the one that came to me with it. So I'm like, now who's the asshole?
Well, you know, when you talk about stuff like that, and that's great. And what Pete said, you know, in a comedy club, go to a comedy club and people are going to laugh. I've been out having drinks with friends, or even here in my office, I have a special little carpet. We have a medical side too. And I go and I try things out with the girls. And there are times we'll be out and they'll say, you can't say that. I'm thinking, you know what? If there was a $20 cover charge and a 2-drink minimum, you'd be laughing your ass off right now. Because we're sitting in a bar. That's not funny to you. You think that's offensive, or you think differently. That's funny shit. And again, you can get away with stuff if they know it's an act. And the whole thing is with comedy, it's an act.
Right.
Nobody is going after anyone. It's an act.
Yeah. George Carlin said, fuck your kids. Fuck the kids. Right. That man's a genius. It was one of the funniest movies. But if you come out and say some shit like that now, and I do like 20 minutes on making fun of kids because I hate them. But I don't come out and just say that. But the whole thing is saying you're a shitty parent. And the parents are just laughing their ass off because I don't come out and say you're the problem. I make the kid the problem. But I'm like, it's all about trying to understand it. And these trigger words, I think Daniel Tosh is a genius. The way he writes, he's so funny. Some of the stuff's intended to be offensive. Are people laughing is the question. That's the question. But I'm very much like Pete. If I write a joke on the line, my intent isn't to offend. I will ask people,
is this racist? Does this come off wrong? Tell me what you think. You know, if I get rich, I'm going to hire a gay chef. Because if anybody knows when something tastes like shit, it would be a gay chef. Right.
I have bad jokes that I don't tell.
I do too.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know, and there's still, I have a joke that makes that you think, am I the racist person for thinking the way he said it? Because I have it worded so perfectly that you say to yourself, damn, was he talking about this or was he talking about that? You know? And I will say this joke to you guys, and I don't say it on stage, but the joke, if it's too far, let me know. I can handle it. But the joke goes, I wrote a joke about a black guy, but it didn't work. So you say to yourself, what is he talking about? Is he talking? And then you say to yourself, wait, what did you think about first? It's like those little word graphs where when they go, whatever word you see first is what's going to happen for the rest of the year for you, you know? And it's like, and I'm not a racist person, but I do love jokes about race, you know? And if I write a joke that I can't tell, I'll give it to someone else that can tell.
Yes.
You know?
All the time.
But I just want to know if this is too much or whatever. You know, it's all about, it's writing. You know, you don't always write jokes for yourself. I wrote a joke that I said, there's a comedian out here, his name is Well-Known Comic, as opposed to Unknown Comic, right? So his name is Well-Known Comic. Nobody knows him, but he's very physical. So he does this joke where he grabs you and he touches you and he's right in your face, right? And so I go, the joke goes, before we get started, let's get one thing straight. And then he puts his hand on someone and he says the F word to somebody. And I couldn't say that, but he says it to somebody. And every time it goes crazy, you know? And it's perfect for him. You know, I go, before we get started, let's get one thing straight. And he goes, that one thing is you. And then he says the F word to the guy and the place goes, nobody gets mad. Nobody gets offended. No one comes up to him and wants to fight him, you know? But I go, I can't tell that, but it's you because you're coming at someone. You're like, oh, dude, you know, and I wrote a joke for this kid, Joey Bragg. He was a Disney kid. I go, if green means go, how come when you say them together, it means white? You know, gringo. You know, if you say them together, it means white. And it's perfect for him, you know, and I don't mind giving jokes away. I'm not giving bits away. I'm not giving 20-minute segments, you know, they're not making money off that, you know, but it's good to see something that you can't do. Like the Bee Gees. Remember when the Bee Gees weren't popular and they started writing songs for people that could make things work? Right. It's kind of, I'm not saying I'm the Bee Gees, but it's in a sense to be like, okay, I can't do it. I'd rather see that joke fly.
Right. I do shows with a veteran, because I'm a veteran, who got blown up by an IED. So he's 40% burnt. He's missing an arm, burnt through his skull, his eyes messed up. He's been all over the national. So we toured for 7-8 years together. We wrote jokes together. And he would open and I would headline. So when I would follow him, I'd say, give it up for Bobby Headline. And they're like, man, people are like, man, he got blown up. He's a hero. And I'm like, that doesn't make him a hero. That makes him accident prone. Because he fucked up at his job. That's why he got blown up. I said, that's like taking someone at Walmart and they fall off the ladder and they get employed a month. This isn't how this fucking system should work. And the crowd loves it, but only if they know that he and I are friends. So at the beginning of the show, he and I have to come out together and do like 5 minutes together. So that allows them to be okay with me making fun of him being burnt. Yeah. But otherwise, they won't laugh at anything he says about himself unless we come out together like that.
Well, self-deprecation works. And, you know, the one thing that is a turnoff to me as I get a little older is they talked about Chris Rock. You know, Larry also said he's never cursed on stage. There's no need for it. And sometimes there is. But when you see like a Chris Rock, and there's just certain words that I'm like, no, you just lost me. No, you lost me. Because I couldn't do them. You couldn't do them. You couldn't do those same jokes because we're white.
Right.
And self-deprecation, I think, is wonderful. Picking on yourself is great humor. And you look at, you know, Joan Rivers. I saw her up in the Bay Area at a women's event. I was probably one of 10 guys among 10,000 women at this event. And she came out and talked. And the one thing that really stuck with me is when she said, human beings are the only species on this planet with a sense of humor. We need to use it. And she talked about how she started and where she was and, making it. And then all of a sudden she's doing open mics again, up and down, up and down, up and down. And that's the way the industry works. Phyllis Diller, San Francisco. She was a mother of lots of kids. And, she gave it a shot and look where it took her. But timing is everything. And I hope, Pete, Anthony, as we come out of this pandemic, we find a way here in Monterey, Jay, to get people behind the mic and have more mics available so we can build it. And so people can come. And I'd like to do something downtown here in Monterey at the farmers market. We have a venue. It was the building that used to house our office before we moved over by the post office. The landlord said, you could use the bottom floor. You could use it. And it would just be real simple. Shove a mic and an amplifier in there, boom. And you got comedy. And I like to do that at the farmers market on Tuesday nights, maybe once a month. And just people just walking off the street. And let's do comedy and pop-up comedy. Like what Pete said, I saw these guys at a biker bar in Hollister.
Yeah.
Funny shit. And to do that, the open mics he does, around pizza places, other places he's doing shows in the Bay Area. Take the comedy to the people. I like it to do.
Nothing trains you better as a comic. That's how I progressed so quickly. Is I did every bar show, every biker show, every outdoor show, because you have to learn how to tell your jokes quickly. They have to hit, and you have to be able to move and play with the crowd. Performing at the club is cake. It's easy. They are there to laugh, but get 50 bikers who are there to drink and get ass and get their attention. That is the fun of comedy to me. That's the fun part.
Ask how many Hell's Angels friends I have because I've done those shows.
Me too.
Not being afraid. They don't like the ones that are afraid of you.
Exactly.
If you're afraid of them, then get out of here. But man, I have entered those biker runs that we did. We did one in Seaside. And then what was the biker show that's in Seaside, Jay? We did that show. The little dive bar. As soon as you come in Seaside, I forgot his name. Mike.
The Jade Lounge. We did that with Kabir Singh. Is that what you're talking about, or something else?
No. This is in Seaside. As soon as you come in, it used to be a rock venue. This guy named Mike used to own it. A lot of bikers go in there. But then here's where he messed up, because he said to me, I want locals to do this show. We want the locals to be on this show. He wanted locals to bring people into the bar. The people that were there would love the show every week. I'm not from there. It would take me from San Jose to get to Seaside on a Friday night. I would have to leave at 8 to get there by 9 because I'd have to have the traffic die. So the people the regulars that were there, they loved the show. And where that guy messed up was that he wanted to have some guy that lived there locally. He didn't want to pay me no more. So he wanted to pay some other guy crumbs that lives down the street, and the guy would get paid an experience. I've been paid an experience. I'm 14 years into stand-up. I'm not driving an hour to get for drink tickets, because guess what? If I wanted to, I could drink beer on the way there. I'd be set, do the show, go home, save my money. I don't need alcohol for me. But if we're entertaining your bar and those people that were there, I had to take this with people that were loving the show, and we had something going, but he wanted to get cheap and not pay for it. And that's where it messed up. So it sucks because, and then from there I went to Hollister. I went to Johnny's Bar in Hollister, which is a super, super tough place to do. But I don't book anybody on that show. I book people that can handle it. I don't book hitters. I book people that can handle and fight and brawl. It's like a bar fight. It's a bar fight,
And if you're smart, the smart comedians, I would tell them, go home and write biker jokes. Go home and write gun carrying jokes.
Yeah.
Because every time we would have that, and you'd have 80 bikers, and for some reason half of them stand on the side instead of sit down. I would always pick the biggest one when I get up there and I go, look at you. What is your fucking name?
Yeah.
Give me his name. I go, oh, Jesus. It would take me hours to get you to come. And that just brings them down because now you're in with them. And I would play almost like I was gay to them for the first 5 minutes before. And they would just love that shit. They're coming over giving you a vest. It's because you're fucking with them. And you're not being ridiculing them. You're just making fun of the situation. And it was so much fun.
Yeah. I hate to interrupt, but I do have to go. I have another Zoom show to do right now.
Right.
This was awesome. I enjoyed everybody. I enjoyed everything that Marvin said. Stevie for putting this up. Anthony, Harley, everybody, thank you so much. I can't wait to come back to Monterey and spend all the money I make on the hotel. That's what it's all about. I do gotta go. Thank you so much for everything, guys.
Thank you.
Every Wednesday live, we'll be here. All right. Thank you, Pete. All right, so we're going to wrap up the call pretty soon here. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. So Marvin and Harley, we haven't heard much from you, but what does humor and laughter and because that's like the lowest common denominator of better health, how do we laughter is the best medicine, and that's probably most of us that have gotten through to this far through the coronavirus has probably had a positive spirit that helped guide them through it, to keep them positive and have looks at the brighter side of things. So Harley, you have anything to say about everything you heard? And
no, I mean, I guess for me it's I've not heard that much politics or not that much comedy. I turned to politics instead. That's kind of what happened, is that I had no interest in politics here a year and a half ago, and it was COVID happened. And it was like, a lot of stuff was just bugging me. And I was like, well, I don't have anything better to do. So I started reading into theory. I started reading into policy. And so I guess the comedy thing, it's nice. It's a nice break when we're doing all this political stuff for sure. Because, I mean, man, it gets serious and it's a headache. You get, I start to get red in the face and it's just, oof. And so it's nice. I appreciate, Anthony for sure, kind of got me onto the show because he's funny. He's my God, he's funny.
Thank you.
I just can't get over that. He cracks me up every time. So yeah, I mean, thanks to that, thanks for doing the show. You make it a little bit more palatable. It's a lot less, drudging through just layers and layers of really depressing stuff.
Home now, Harley? Are you home a lot now?
Yeah. So right now I'm actually in a college dorm.
I was gonna say that sofa is bugging the shit out of me.
That cushion's wrong.
That cushion around here. And you got a stuffed animal on there. I don't know what the fuck you're doing. But, pudding, jelly, whatever. But fucking that little stuffed animal, fix that shit.
I'm obsessive compulsive every time I see it too.
No, it's an aesthetic. It's an aesthetic.
You don't have a girlfriend, do you?
Funny story. Hey, babe.
He brought her as evidence. I fucking love it. I love it.
Yeah. No, he's in the other room.
So you're gay. I fucking love that.
Hey, then you know what? Then who's the interior designer in your?
Neither one.
It's a bad name.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're actually a they, them, as am I. I don't usually talk about it, but we're both transgender.
Oh, Harley, God bless you, man. One of my best. I'm gonna say, do you have time to read a script for me?
Yeah, I'll read a script.
My script is about my transgender friend who I helped start stand-up comedy.
There you go.
And I saw, it was amazing because I was in LA and I came back to San Antonio and I see this person doing stand-up comedy, right? And I was pretty popular in that town, pretty well known. So when she got off stage, she said, "Can you help me?" Because she got 0 laughs. And she goes, "Why didn't I get laughs?" And I go, "Bitch, because we're all wondering if you're a man or a woman and you never fucking mentioned it. Because you're standing there with perfect titties and man arms." And I'm like, if you don't mention that. So we sat down, we became the best of friends. We sat down and we wrote material and she kills it now. And in the process of her life, because she was in the Navy as a man, and I wrote a sitcom about her. And her name is Eva Cassini. And I wrote a sitcom called Garden of Eva. and it's about her life and what she goes through on a daily basis, because it's horribly tragic and it's unbelievably fucking funny at the same time. So I'd love to send that to you and get your opinion on it, because I'm about to push that in Hollywood also.
Right.
Nice.
As a human being, fix that sofa.
No, I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sit in front of it. We don't see
I'll make
it.
sure next week it's the exact same way, so you think I never touched it.
Because, and I'm not a neat freak or anything, but that's
Harley, so are you considering joining the military now?
The military. I think I'm gonna pass.
Biden just opened it back up, right, for the transgender.
Yeah.
Trump era policy, the Pentagon dismissed all the bans on
Thank
transgender.
God. They. Oh my God.
Which I wrote a joke saying it's just a subversive way to kill the transgenders. That he's really coming
God.
across. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, it looks good, but they're playing in the back room. I was like, how can we kill more of these transgenders? Well, tell them they can get in the military. Yeah, right. It's so screwed up. Yeah.
Yeah, my partner actually, they did try to enlist and they got rejected because of it, because they had already started hormone therapy. So it's unfortunate.
God bless you. I love you. It takes so much courage to do what you're doing. It's so fantastic. I just love it. God bless you. Does Iowa help with that type of thing, with hormones and transition and?
Yeah, actually Planned Parenthood offers a lot of services for it.
Really?
Yeah, so you can get hormones through Planned Parenthood.
And I know in California at Stanford, there's a lot of research that they do. It's a research college, and they found, and miraculously, that you can actually see a hormone. Just don't pay the bitch.
Right.
Hey. What do you call a fish with no eyes?
No. On that note.
Okay.
Let's call this a night. This was fun.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Marvin, you have any closing remarks about life and laughter before we sign off?
I just want to ask Stevie, what did they do at Stanford?
They did some research, and the latest research was they found that you could actually see a hormone.
Really?
Yeah, just don't pay the bitch.
Harley, I need your email. If you could send your email to me, I would love that. And I'll send you the script and the pitch deck and all that good stuff.
I'll just pop it in chat. That's no big deal.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Marvin, you got any final thoughts? That was it, huh? Thank you very much, everybody.
He's going to use that joke.
What was that?
He's going to use that joke tomorrow.
Yes. Everybody wave to the camera. Say goodbye. Thank you, Harley. Thank Anthony. Thank you, Steve. Everybody, keep laughing, everybody. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notifications and all that on YouTube and Facebook. And check out the Foolish Times and check out .net, foolishtimes.net, and check out Anthony's pages. And keep laughing, everybody. Keep it bright.